In the last few hours, the Michigan coaching search has been flipped on its head, and Kyle Whittingham has now made it clear he's the man for the job. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into an emergency Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. I just got 11-hour drive into my childhood home when this breaks that Kyle Whittingham, significant interest in wanting the Michigan job. And this starts not when Morgan Scalley was announced as the head coach in waiting, not when Kyle Whittingham said he was going to retire in a couple of years, not when the date was set, but in 2014. I can explain more if you hit subscribe. I get to keep my job. The coaching search in Michigan begins with Sherrone Moore having a mistress, allegedly, on staff who he doubles their salary, allegedly, and then allegedly holds a knife to his throat, says he's going to kill himself, and then it's all their fault. Not good. Then the search takes a turn to Kenny Dillingham and possibly Jed Fish and maybe Kalen DeBoer. And now squarely in the race per Kalshi is Kyle Whittingham, the Utah coach. 2014, December 11, 2014, via Pacific Talks, Kyle Whittingham reportedly in Ann Arbor about the Michigan Wolverines vacancy. Whittingham, the seeds for this were planted long ago, over 10 years ago. And now Whittingham's interest has been not just reported by Liam Blutman of Barstool, but corroborated by On3. Kyle Whittingham may very well be the leading candidate at this point for Michigan, and it makes a ton of sense for Kyle Whittingham. If you're a Utah fan, you should love this. You should love it for the guy who gave you 2 decades of really good work. If you are a Michigan fan, you should love this because this is a coach that is going to win right away. 66 years old, similar age to Willie Fritz at Houston. Still has his fastball, just won 10 games in the Big 12, was able to recruit an offensive coordinator, recruit a quarterback to his school out of the transfer portal, and win with them. He is a win-now option if you're Michigan. And if you're the Big 12 Conference, you'd much rather see Kyle Whittingham go as opposed to Kenny Dillingham. Why? Well, that's because the situation at Utah is very interesting. Here's where 11 years ago the seed may have been planted, but now the expedition of Whittingham being out at Utah is a weird one. I don't know if I've ever seen this. He really sets in stone with a lot of the donors, administration, Morgan Scalley, his defensive coordinator, who is the head coach in waiting, that last season was going to be his final year as the head coach of the Utes. That was fairly common knowledge around the Whittingham camp. Then the team goes 5-7, misses a bowl game, they lose to BYU. He says, all right, everybody, I'm coming back for one more. The last ride. He says it at Big 12 Media Days that he was pretty much ready to go, but couldn't end on that note. But at 66 years old, and remember, Nick Saban coached into his early 70s, Whittingham got done with this season, and what I've heard from multiple sources now is that he looked around the room and said, can I get another mulligan? Can I say just kidding again? Am I able to come back for one more year? And Morgan Scalley says, I've been waiting. I gave you an extra year. The donors say, we've been waiting. We're ready for the new dog with the new tricks to reinvest in the new dog. The administration says, we've been waiting. You've not necessarily overstayed your welcome, but you built your own timeline. So Utah, when Whittingham didn't necessarily want to, was lobbying to still be the head coach, in essence, pushed him out of that position and said, go be wise, sage Yoda in our program. Go stand around and say, good job, everybody. Go be the associate to the athletic director who sips Mai Tais and watches practice some days. That was going to be his role. But he made it clear, I'm not done coaching. I'm not retiring. I don't want to retire. And that's where Michigan comes in. And that's where I think this makes a lot of sense. And I would not be shocked if it happens. Here's why Michigan is the spot where Whittingham will be within a week. I got more. Locked On Big 12. Game Time is the exact place that I'm going with the World Cup. on its way. 48 teams in the United States, Dallas to New York to LA. With Game Time, you can get tickets fast and get tickets cheap. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets, every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Today's show is also brought to you by Omaha Steaks. It is the perfect Christmas gift for anyone that you love. Man, woman, child. They have sides, they have desserts, and they have the biggest ribeyes you've ever seen in your life. Omaha Steaks is the way to go. They show up frozen at your door. Sizzle all the way sale means that right now you can get 50% off site-wide. And with the code LOCKEDONCollege, actually, for Locked On College listeners, I should say, the code COLLEGE gets you an extra $35 off. Save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during the Sizzle All the Way sale for an extra $35 off. Use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. omahasteaks.com, code COLLEGE. This is a great hire if you're Michigan. Sherrone Moore was younger, and he was the first-time head coach, and then he threatens, allegedly, to kill himself or others and commit serious harm. On a scale of 1 to good, that's not. You need stability. You don't need young, hotshot guy come in with a lot of emotion like Kenny Dillingham, who's doing a great job at Arizona State, and I think would do a pretty good job at Michigan. But you don't need that. You don't need to take the guy away from his alma mater like you did Rich Rodriguez. Uh-oh, that didn't work out very well, did it? You need the guy who knows college football like the back of his hand from the 80s on. The old BYU linebacker Kyle Whittingham played for Lavelle Edwards, a guy who coached for over 2 decades at Utah, and all he did was win repeatedly. Pac-12 championships, upsets in the Pac-12 championship, taking his team to the Rose Bowl, then in the Big 12. After a 5-7 season, you wonder, similar to a Nick Saban, is he done? Has he really lost at this time? But then he goes 10-2. His second year in the Big 12 conference and poaches an offensive coordinator, poaches a quarterback, shows, hey, I can still fire people, I can still make moves, and I can go make moves that will help us win today. He gets to Michigan. He will utilize NIL. He will utilize the transfer portal. And if you were a Utah fan, sorry. If you wanted him to be your head coach, you could have just kept him as your head coach. Now you can't. The administration, the donor base, all those, they're like, it's his time. See ya. Like real old Yeller treatment here. It's not fun. It's not fun to kill the dog, but we're kind of tired of the dog. And it has rabies. For Michigan, wait a second. We have the cure to rabies. Old Yeller's a perfectly good dog. Plenty of life to go. Instead of buying a new lab, and who knows, that lab might have a thyroid issue. They're prone to thyroid issues. This lab, actually pretty clean. Once the rabies is gone, then we're good to go. And the number one cure for rabies could be a new environment. They really snapped out of it. Left the mountains of Salt Lake City, came to Ann Arbor, and won right away. That's what you get in Kyle Whittingham. I am a full supporter of this move for Michigan. I'm a full supporter for Whit. I think it's good to get him out of the Big 12 if you're a fan of any other Big 12 fan base, because he was just going to keep winning. He was just going to continue to win with his private equity deal as well. He has beaten Nick Saban in a Sugar Bowl. He has won games at the top of college football and is one of the best to do it the last 2 decades and one of the most underrated names in the country when it comes to college coaching. And now you have the opportunity to sign that guy. That's what I would do. Also because it's probably not a good time to sign the young, hotshot, good-looking stag when the entire administration is probably about to go down. When everybody in that office is about to be swept up into this massive scandal, and the NCAA and everybody else and the FBI and all the lists of numbers and letters and names and acronyms says, you know what, Michigan? Not only did your coach allegedly threaten to off himself in front of his mistress after breaking into her house, but you got a whole lot of skeletons in that closet. And maybe you knew that guy was seeing his mistress who was on staff. Maybe you knew that. And if you did, you're all going down. And in that event, you don't need a used car salesman. And that's not Kenny Dillingham. I don't think he's a used car salesman. But you don't need a car salesman at all. You don't need a guy who's ever sold cars. And if he has sold cars, they better have been Model Ts, a la Kyle Whittingham. You need a true blue, old school football coach who says, I don't give a ding what's happened in this department. I'll fix it. I've fixed worse. I've dealt with plenty of things. I've seen plenty of things. And I can win here, and I can win now. That's Kyle Whittingham. I'm rooting for the old ball coach. You know, I'm rooting for him. More of this the rest of the week. Coaching searches, Texas Tech. Brennan Sorsby's girlfriend. Locked on. Thanks for making this show your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.